Welcome back, guys. Let's talk about Rocky 4. Now, this is one of those sequels that a lot of people consider a really fun movie. And I totally think the exact same thoughts as a lot of people, where I think this is an awesome, really fun sequel. I love the fact that this is very similar to Rocky 3 in a lot of aspects, where it's silly, it's goofy. It's got a lot more fight sequences and montages than a plot and it feels like Rocky 3 I think even has more plot than this, and this one has less plot, but honest to God, like, I don't care. I thought this was incredibly fun. This is one of the most, this is the most fun Rocky movie because it doesn't take itself seriously. It's trying to be completely and utterly kind of insane in some ways. Like, it's hilarious, and all the humor works for me, all the silliness works for me. I like how, again, it continues off of the ending of 3. They do this thing where they keep continuing off of each ending. But again, they do it. It's just funny they keep doing it every one of them. And you could tell that this movie is really cheesy when one of the first scenes in the movie is where Polly gets that robot that says, "Happy birthday, Polly." And he later makes it his girlfriend, which is really funny. That immediately made me think, rewatching this, that this is the tone they were trying to go for immediately. They weren't trying to be serious. This was really silly. But again, I really love how silly it is, though. And the plot of this one, if there's really a plot, there isn't much of a plot in this one. Russian Ivan Drago is a boxer, and he is going to fight Rocky with the Soviet Union at his hands, like behind him. I really think that's cool that in this movie Rocky goes to Russia and we see a different location instead of being in America. That's pretty cool, because I don't think as of this movie we didn't go anywhere else besides, I think, just Philadelphia, where he was at, right? Unless you count those montages in 3 whenever he was going through different things for the 3 years between Rocky 2 and 3, but I like having it in Russia. I thought that was really cool. And I thought Ivan Drago is the villain here, and he is honestly really intimidating. He actually is very effective in a way where it's just, this guy is just a 7-foot tall person that just is like a wall, like a literal wall moving around. And a lot of his lines, I think, are great. They're really intimidating, where he says lines like, "I must break you," or he'll say whenever he kills Apollo and he's dying, he says, "If he dies, he dies." And it's just really that the performance is really great, really intimidating. I really love that a lot. Dolph Lundgren is just really good as this really intimidating guy, and he's really actually pretty scary. And I think he is the most dangerous opponent out of any of the movies, because this is really silly, where he literally, even though it's really silly, he kills Apollo straight up by punching him a lot. But that makes him intimidating, even though the tone is silly. So I love that this is this is the most intimidating villain out of all of them. He really is truly the most intimidating and really scary. And it makes a really crazy impression how in the first fight, Apollo fights him and he gets murdered. That shows how intimidating this villain is. So I really like that a lot too. And it makes him a very worthy adversary to Rocky, because now Rocky lost Apollo because of him, so he's got to fight him again, even though after he killed his friend Apollo. So that, to me, is a really great, worthy adversary. I feel like that's the most worthiest adversary out of all of these movies, because I feel like he earned the intimidation and earned the fear. Apollo did, so Rocky has to fight after losing a friend from him. Like, he literally killed him. So I think that's great. Really like that a lot. Just makes him an incredibly worthy adversary. I also love the montages in this movie, and I think 3 does the same thing, where there are a lot of montages, but I felt like in this one the montages are way more fun. Like, I love seeing Rocky in Russia literally climbing a mountain and just showing all these crazy ass techniques of him training while it shows Drago training. I think that's really good and really well done, and it's a lot of the reason is because of the soundtrack, which is actually really one of my favorite soundtracks in a movie. This has an incredible soundtrack that I always remember all the songs. They all are memorable. They all are fun. They all give this movie such an identity for itself. So I really love that. Like Hearts on Fire is a great song. Or No Easy Way Out is a great one. And also Burning Heart and Hearts on Fire. Like there's so many great songs in this movie that the soundtrack I just think is incredible. I'm surprised I don't own it. If I could find it somewhere like on disc, I'll definitely get it, but I just don't own it. But I love the soundtrack. I think it's so great. And I love how, whenever I was talking about the montages, I love how Rocky climbs up the mountain, and then at the top he goes, Drago! And then it just does a camera view, like, all around the mountain while he's just up in the air with his arms up. That's just so fun. Like, this is the definition of a fun movie. Like, it's definitely one of the most fun blockbuster popcorn movies I've ever seen. Like, it's just incredibly fun. And the ending fight is really good, and it feels like the stakes are at their highest because, like I said, Drago killed Apollo. Rocky could be killed too. And the fight is really long and intense and really works well. And then I like how whenever Rocky wins, he has this emotional speech that I guess might end the Cold War 6 years before it's actually ended in real life. But the way he was talking to everybody, he's like, we're all the same. And then all the Russians are like, yeah, yeah. So I feel like he could have stopped the Cold War right then. So in this universe in the Rocky movies, he probably stopped the Cold War 6 years earlier than when it actually ended. So I thought that was hilarious. And again, it's just fun and cheesy, and cheesy in the best way. Like, this has such fun 80s cheese that I don't know how. Like, I just love everything about it. I love all this cheesiness, all this fun and silliness, all the characters. The story, like I said, is less important in this one. Like 3, and Sylvester Stallone said online, he said during the making Rocky 3 and 4, he couldn't think of any actual plot that much, so he just made a lot of montages, and it shows. But this one I think is incredibly fun, incredibly memorable, incredible soundtrack, great characters, even if they're kind of they don't have much of a plot. It's just Rocky's gonna fight Drago in Russia, and that's it. And Apollo dies, and that's it. So there's nothing else. It's just really silly 80s cheese, but it's in the best way. I truly do love this movie. And rewatching it, I loved every minute of it. Definitely one of my favorite sequels. I don't know how I'm going to rank it because it's one of my favorites, but there's so many damn good Rocky movies. So I don't know where I'm going to rank this. We'll see. But whenever we get to that, we'll get to that. So thank you guys so much for watching. And next up, we'll talk about Rocky 5. So see you there.